Anna stood in the quiet of her home, staring at the message on her phone. The words stung, but not in the way one might expect. I can't do this anymore. Anna, I need a real partner. Not a burden. I'm filing for divorce. Don't bother calling me. I've already made up my mind. She read the words again, as if seeing them twice would make them less absurd. A burden. That's what David, her husband of 8 years, thought of her. She didn't cry. She didn't panic. Instead, a slow, quiet anger settled deep inside her. Not because she was heartbroken, but because of the sheer arrogance in his words. David saw himself as the provider, the backbone of their life together, while she was nothing more than a dependent. What he didn't know, what he never cared to know, was that the company he was so proud of working for, the one he had been climbing the corporate ladder in for years, was hers. Anna had built that empire before they even met. She had been running the business behind the scenes, choosing to keep a low profile while others took center stage. And David? He had no idea. He had spent years coming home and complaining about upper management, completely unaware that he was talking about his own wife. For years, she let him believe what he wanted to believe. She listened as he boasted about how important he was at work, about the deals he closed, about how one day he'd be running the company himself. He truly believed he was indispensable. And all that time, Anna had been the one signing his paychecks. It wasn't just about the company, though. Their entire marriage had been built on David's belief that he was superior. He had always dismissed her interests, brushed off her achievements, and treated her role in their marriage as secondary to his. He spoke about her career like it was a hobby, like she was simply passing time while he did the real work. At first, Anna had let it slide. She told herself it wasn't worth the fight. She had never been the kind of person who needed validation from others, least of all from a man who refused to see her worth. But the more time passed, the more suffocating it became. She remembered the times he mocked her decisions, the way he would roll his eyes when she had to stay late working, the way he talked about his money, never realizing that it was really hers. The real insult, however, wasn't just the divorce. It was the assumption that she would struggle without him, that without his support, she would somehow be lost. David had no idea that tomorrow, when he walked into work, he wouldn't just be facing another day in the office. He would be facing his boss. As he left for work the next morning, whistling as if he had just won some great battle, Anna watched him go with a knowing smile. He had no idea. He still believed he was the one in control. By the time he arrived at the office, she was already there, sitting in her executive chair, looking over the day's agenda. She had been hands-off with the company for a while, letting her management team handle the daily operations. But today was different. Today, she would remind everyone, including David, exactly who was in charge. At 9 a.m. sharp, a knock at her door signaled that it was time. Her assistant entered, placing a folder in front of her. The termination list. Ma'am, ready for your review. Anna took a deep breath and flipped through the pages. She already knew which name mattered most. David Reynolds, department head, sales division. A slow, satisfied smile spread across her face. Send him in. David walked into the office with his usual air of arrogance. Confident and clueless, he greeted the receptionist with his usual fake charm, adjusted his tie, and strode through the hallways like he owned the place. He had no idea that his entire career was built on a lie. As he stepped inside and locked eyes with Anna, confusion flickered across his face. He stopped mid-step, his expression shifting from certainty to pure disbelief. Anna leaned back in her chair, cool and composed. Good morning, David. For a second, he just stood there, silent. His mind struggled to process what he was seeing. What the hell is this? He finally demanded, shutting the door behind him. Anna gestured to the chair across from her. Have a seat. His mouth opened, then closed. His hesitation was brief, but it was there. Still, his pride wouldn't let him back down. He sat, arms crossed. What is this, Anna? Why are you here? She folded her hands on the desk and met his gaze. I own this company. David scoffed. No, you don't. Anna smiled. Yes, I do. He let out a short laugh, shaking his head. You expect me to believe that? You don't even have a job. You've been sitting at home, living off my paycheck for years. She tilted her head slightly. Your paycheck? The one I sign? The flicker of doubt in his eyes was immediate. He flinched, just barely, but Anna saw it. You're lying, he snapped. Without a word, she slid a folder across the desk. Inside were the official ownership documents. Her name, her title, her control over every department, including his. David's fingers twitched as he opened it. scanning every line. His breathing changed. It became shallower. The realization was sinking in. Everything he thought he knew, his position, his power, had been built on a lie. A lie he had told himself. He looked up, his face pale. This isn't possible. You're telling me you've owned this company the whole time? Anna met his gaze evenly. Yes. David clenched his jaw. You let me, he stopped. Unable to finish. Yes, David, I let you believe whatever you wanted to believe. For the first time, David had nothing to say. And that was the moment Anna knew, she had already won. David sat in stunned silence. The realization was hitting him like a freight train. But his ego was still fighting to make sense of it. Anna, his wife, the woman he had dismissed for years. The woman he had written off as a burden, owned the company he had spent years working at. He clenched his jaw, flipping through the documents in front of him. As if reading them again would somehow change the truth. It wouldn't. His name was nowhere near the ownership line. There was no trace of his so-called importance. Anna sat back in her chair, watching him, calm and composed. She had been waiting for this moment, not for revenge, but for clarity. She wanted to see if he would finally acknowledge the truth. If he would recognize just how blind he had been. David finally looked up, his face paler than she had ever seen it. You let me believe I was in control, he muttered, almost to himself. Anna arched an eyebrow. I didn't let you believe anything. David, you never asked. You assumed, and I let you run with that assumption. His nostrils flared. You humiliated me, he snapped, his voice laced with anger. You sat there, night after night, listening to me talk about my job, about how I was moving up. How I was making a name for myself, knowing this entire time that it was your company. Anna took a slow sip of her coffee before setting the cup down. Yes. David let out a short, bitter laugh. So that's what this is. Huh? You dragged me in here just to rub it in my face? To make me feel like an idiot? Anna sighed, feigning disappointment. No, David, I called you in here because of this. She pulled another folder from her desk, sliding it across to him. David stared at it but didn't move. His fingers twitched at his sides. What is this? Your termination letter. A beat of silence. Then, a slow, sharp inhale from David. His hand finally moved, flipping open the folder. His eyes scanned the document once. Then again, his jaw tightened as he absorbed the words. You're firing me? Yes. His hands curled into fists. You can't do that. Anna's expression remained neutral. I can. And I am. David's nostrils flared. On what grounds? She flipped through another file, reading aloud, her voice calm, detached. Multiple complaints about workplace toxicity. Failure to meet performance targets for the last 3 quarters. Reports of inappropriate remarks toward female colleagues. David's face darkened. She continued, and let's not forget the most recent reason, blatant disrespect toward the company's owner. That alone is grounds for termination. His entire body was rigid. He was breathing harder now, like a man cornered. This is personal, he growled. You're using our divorce to get back at me. Anna finally allowed herself to smile. A slow, knowing smile. Oh no, David, this is strictly professional. She leaned forward slightly, locking eyes with him. But let's not pretend it doesn't feel damn good. David shot up from his chair, his fists clenching at his sides. You'll regret this, he spat. Anna merely shrugged, entirely unbothered. Doubt it. She stood as well, smoothing out her blazer. Security will escort you out. The moment hung between them, David trembling with rage. Anna standing tall, unshaken. And then, the office door opened, and 2 security guards stepped inside. David turned to them, then back to Anna. His mouth opened, then closed. He had no choice. With one last glare, he turned on his heel and stormed out. The office was silent after he left, except for the quiet hum of the city outside. Anna exhaled, allowing herself a brief moment of satisfaction. It was done. She had fired her own husband. But this wasn't the end. The real fireworks were only just beginning. That evening, Anna expected him to show up at the house. Maybe he'd yell, demand an explanation, try to guilt her into undoing what had already been set in motion. But instead, her phone buzzed with a single text. You think this is over? I'll take half of everything in the divorce. You'll regret this. Anna smirked. If only David knew. She didn't respond. She let him stew in his own delusions for a little longer. Because tomorrow, reality would hit him like a freight train. The next morning, as she walked into the office, there was already a buzz in the air. David's termination had spread fast. Employees who had suffered under his arrogance, his condescension, His fake leadership, they were relieved. Some were even celebrating. And then, at exactly 8:17 a.m., her assistant knocked on the door. "Ma'am, we just got a call from the legal department. David is trying to file a wrongful termination lawsuit." Anna let out a soft laugh. Predictable. Her assistant hesitated. "Should we be concerned?" Anna leaned back in her chair, entirely at ease. "No, he doesn't have a case. We have extensive documentation, performance issues, complaints, financial mismanagement in his department. He has no legal standing." Of course, David didn't know that yet. He still thought power came from bluffing, from bullying his way through situations. But power, real power, came from being prepared. She picked up her coffee and took a sip. "Let the lawyers handle it," she said calmly, "but send me any new developments." Her assistant nodded and left the room. Anna exhaled slowly, almost looking forward to the moment when David realized that this wasn't a game. That he wasn't dealing with the passive, obedient wife he had always assumed she was. Because soon enough, the walls would close in on him. And she wouldn't have to lift a single finger. Reality would do all the work for her. David stormed into their house, no, her house, the moment the sun dipped below the horizon. The sound of the front door slamming echoed through the quiet space. But Anna didn't flinch. She sat on the couch, one leg crossed over the other. A glass of wine balanced delicately between her fingers. She had been expecting him. He stood there, breath heavy, eyes burning with fury. His tie was undone, his hair slightly disheveled. He had spent the entire day trying to undo the damage. Trying to find a way to claw back the power he had lost in a single meeting. Anna took a slow sip of her wine, unfazed by his presence. She had lived with his temper before, had endured years of his belittling comments, his arrogance, his belief that she was just some burden he had to carry. But now she was simply watching him unravel. "What the hell is going on, Anna?" he barked, pacing the room like a caged animal. "HR is investigating me. People are talking about fraud. This is a damn witch hunt." Anna set her glass down on the coffee table and met his gaze. Her voice was calm, measured. "You mean an investigation into your misconduct?" David's face turned red. "You did this. You set me up." She let out a soft, almost disappointed sigh. "No, David, you set yourself up. You just never thought anyone would call you out on it." He ran a hand through his hair, the first flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. He was used to being in control, used to manipulating situations to his advantage. But this time, he wasn't in control. Anna was. "This isn't happening," he muttered under his breath. "This can't be happening." Anna tilted her head slightly, watching him carefully. "Oh, it's happening, and it's only going to get worse for you from here." His breath hitched slightly, his hands clenching at his sides. He could see it now, how precariously his world had been built. For years, he had believed himself untouchable, convinced that his position, his charm, his ability to step over others without consequence, would always keep him ahead. But he had underestimated the one person who had been watching him the entire time. Just as she was about to dismiss him entirely, her phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up, glancing at the screen. A slow smile spread across her lips. "Perfect timing," she murmured. She answered the call, never breaking eye contact with David. "Yes, thank you for the update. We were just discussing his future." David swallowed hard. For the first time, there was something else in his eyes, something beyond anger. Fear. Anna ended the call with a satisfied hum and placed the phone back down. "That was my lawyer," she said, smoothing out the hem of her blazer. "Your lawsuit? It's already dead in the water." David blinked, stunned. "What?" She leaned forward slightly. "You have no case. The documentation is airtight. Every complaint, every performance failure, every unethical move you've made, it's all there. There's nothing you can do." David. His hands twitched at his sides, his mind scrambling for a response. An argument, anything that could put him back in control. "This is revenge," he said bitterly. "You're punishing me for leaving you." Anna let out a soft laugh. "Oh, David, you think too highly of yourself." She leaned back, crossing her legs. "This isn't about revenge. This is about consequences." David swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling in. He wasn't used to consequences. He was used to talking his way out of things, spinning the narrative in his favor. But this was different. He was trapped. Anna stood, walking past him toward the kitchen. "You should leave," she said over her shoulder. "There's nothing left for you here." David's jaw tightened. "I'm not just going to disappear." She turned back to him, meeting his gaze one last time. "You already have." He stormed out of the house without another word. The next morning, Anna was sipping her coffee when her phone began buzzing relentlessly. At first, she ignored it, assuming it was just David trying to find new ways to lash out. But then her assistant's name flashed on the screen. She picked up immediately. "What's wrong?" Her assistant's voice was breathless. "Urgent. You need to check social media. Right now." Frowning, Anna grabbed her laptop and opened it. The moment the homepage loaded, she saw it. David had gone public. A viral post written by him was spreading like wildfire across multiple platforms. "Betrayed by the woman I loved. The truth about my divorce. I devoted my life to a woman who pretended to love me. She let me believe I was building a future for us while secretly plotting to destroy me. She humiliated me, fired me, blacklisted me from my industry. And now she wants to leave me with nothing. I gave her everything, and in return, she ruined my life. Is this what marriage has come to? Men, be warned. This is what happens when you trust the wrong woman." Anna exhaled slowly, her fingers tapping against the table as she scrolled through the comments. As expected, men were rallying behind him, calling her a gold digger, a narcissist, a vindictive ex-wife who wanted to ruin a good man's life. But then, something interesting happened. Women weren't buying it. Hundreds of them were digging up the truth. Someone had found David's work record. Someone else had found the HR statement about the fraud investigation. And then the screenshots started surfacing. Former employees, co-workers, even old friends started exposing him. Ben, the guy David had sabotaged, posted the emails proving David had stolen his project. A former female employee shared a story about how David had made inappropriate remarks toward her. Someone else leaked proof that David had been using company funds for luxury expenses, hidden under entertainment costs. His carefully crafted lie was crumbling before his eyes. And then, the final nail in the coffin appeared. A legal document surfaced. Their prenup. A woman on Twitter had found it in the public records and posted a breakdown. So let me get this straight. Anna already owned her company before marriage. David signed a prenup stating separate assets remain separate. He cheated, got fired for fraud, and now wants to act like a victim? Sir, please cry harder. The internet ate him alive. By noon, the tide had completely turned. The same men who had been defending him that morning, nowhere to be found. David had tried to destroy her. Instead, he destroyed himself. At exactly 3:42 p.m., her phone rang. David. She let it ring. Then a text popped up. "Anna, we need to talk, please." She smirked, her fingers hovering over the screen. Then, just for fun, she typed back, "Oh, David, you think you've won, but you haven't." Then, she blocked his number. She leaned back in her chair, satisfied. David had spent years underestimating her. He thought he could control her, manipulate her, erase her. But in the end, he only erased himself. The sun had barely risen when Anna stepped into her office, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. The city outside was already awake. But inside the towering corporate building where she held complete control, everything was silent, except for her phone. A dozen missed calls, all from David. She ignored them. Instead, she focused on the morning's biggest development, the fallout of his disastrous attempt at character assassination. She sipped her coffee as she scrolled through the news. David had tried to destroy her reputation. Instead, he had destroyed his own. The internet had uncovered everything: his fraudulent activities, his unethical behavior, his workplace misconduct. Employees, past and present, had come forward, and within hours, his carefully maintained illusion of being a good man had been shattered. HR had already sent out an official internal email confirming his termination and the investigation into his financial mismanagement. His name was now associated with professional disgrace. Anna leaned back in her chair, watching as the pieces of his empire crumbled. Then, as if on cue, her phone buzzed again. A message from her assistant. "David is here. He's demanding to see you." Anna smirked. How predictable. She tapped out a quick reply. "Send him up." Less than 5 minutes later, the doors to her office flew open. David stormed in, looking nothing like the confident, self-assured man he had always pretended to be. His eyes were bloodshot, his suit slightly disheveled. It was clear he hadn't slept. He slammed his hands onto her desk. "What the hell did you do?" Anna took a slow sip of her coffee before setting it down. She met his glare with a composed, almost amused expression. "Good morning to you too, David." His jaw clenched. "Cut the act. You think you can ruin my life and just sit there sipping your damn coffee like nothing happened?" She tilted her head slightly. I didn't ruin your life. David, you did that all by yourself. His nostrils flared. You set me up. Anna let out a quiet laugh. Oh, come on. You can't possibly be this delusional. She gestured around her office. Everything that's happened has been a long time coming. You just refused to see it. His hands balled into fists. I'm done. She interrupted smoothly. David hesitated, thrown off by her unwavering calm. He was used to controlling the narrative, used to intimidating people into submission. But Anna? She wasn't afraid of him. Not anymore. She leaned forward slightly, resting her chin on her hand. I assume you've seen the news? His jaw tightened. You think this is funny? She shrugged. I think it's ironic. David exhaled sharply, dragging a hand through his hair. I can fix this, he muttered to himself, as if trying to convince the universe. Anna arched an eyebrow. Oh? His eyes snapped back to hers. You can't just erase me. Anna, we built a life together. I deserve something. Her smile didn't waver. We didn't build anything together. David, I built everything. You just assumed you had a claim to it. His face darkened. We were married. He spat. That means something. Anna sighed. I'm glad you finally understand that. Because it also means you signed a prenup. His entire body stiffened. I agreed that separate assets remain separate. She continued, retrieving a document from her desk. She slid it toward him. You signed this, David, before we were even married. He stared at the paper as if it had betrayed him. This isn't fair. Anna let out a small chuckle. Fair? You're talking to me about fairness? She stood up, walking around her desk until she was standing right in front of him. For years, I supported you. I let you live in a house you didn't pay for. I let you wear designer suits I bought. I let you build a career while you mocked me for focusing on my own. She paused, watching as he swallowed hard. And now that it's over, you want to cry about fairness? His face twisted into something ugly. You're heartless. She smiled. No, David, I'm finally being smart. Silence stretched between them. He wanted to fight, wanted to win, but for the first time, he had no weapons left. Anna let the moment settle before taking a step back. You should go, she said simply. David didn't move. Anna, I don't need your excuses. She cut him off. I don't need your apologies. I don't need anything from you. His lips parted slightly. She could see the realization sink in. She meant it. I hope you find a way to move forward. David, she exhaled, but it won't be here. She turned away, walking back toward her desk. This conversation was over, and for once, David knew it. With nothing left to say, he turned on his heel and walked out. Anna sat down, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She was done, and this time, it was forever. As the days passed, David's downfall became irreversible. Every company he applied to turned him down. His reputation had been permanently stained. At first, he tried to fight it, tried to convince people he was the victim. But the evidence was overwhelming. By the time the dust settled, he had lost everything. Anna, on the other hand, she thrived. Her company expanded, her career soared, and her life became something she no longer had to compromise for anyone else. One evening, as she sat in her penthouse overlooking the city, sipping a glass of wine, her assistant knocked on the door. You're going to love this, she said with a smirk, handing Anna a folder. Anna opened it and let out a quiet laugh. David had applied for a mid-level job at one of her subsidiary companies. He must not have realized who owned it. Her assistant arched an eyebrow. Should we reject him? Anna tapped her nails against the folder. Considering. Then, she smiled. No. Her assistant blinked. No? Anna set the folder down. I want them to call him in for an interview. A week later, David walked into a sterile conference room, dressed in a cheap suit. His shoulders slumped. He had no idea what was coming. When the door opened, and he looked up, his face went pale. Anna walked in, setting her folder down on the table. David, she said smoothly. His lips parted, but no words came out. She smiled, clasping her hands together. So, tell me. She leaned forward, enjoying every second of his horror. Why should we hire you? Silence. David was frozen. And Anna? She had never felt more powerful. Anna leaned back in her chair, watching the city skyline from the massive glass windows of her office. It had been months since she had walked away from the past. From the betrayal, from the man who had spent years underestimating her. And yet, even now, his presence lingered, not as a wound, but as a reminder. She had built something extraordinary in his absence. Her company had flourished, breaking records, expanding into new markets. Investors trusted her judgment, and employees thrived under her leadership. The irony was almost poetic. The business that David had once dismissed as a small side project had grown into an empire that now dictated the future of industries. And he was nowhere, or so she thought. Her assistant, Emily, entered the room, a smirk playing on her lips as she set a folder on the desk. "You might want to see this," she said. Anna raised an eyebrow before flipping the folder open. The moment her eyes landed on the page, a slow, disbelieving smile spread across her face. David Reynolds had applied for yet another job. At one of her companies. Again. She let out a quiet laugh. Shaking her head. "He never learns, does he?" Emily crossed her arms. "Apparently not. HR flagged it because, well, it's him." Anna tapped her nails against the desk. Considering, she had already humiliated him once. Already stripped him of his illusions of power. Most people in his position would have left the city. Started over somewhere else. But not David. He was still trying to claw his way back into an industry that had long since rejected him. And now, he had come crawling, unknowingly, to her feet. Emily hesitated before asking, "Want me to reject him?" Anna pursed her lips, thinking, it would be so easy to toss the application aside. To let him fade into irrelevance like so many men before him who thought the world owed them success. But then, she had an idea. "No," she said, setting the folder down. "Tell HR to schedule an interview." Emily blinked, surprised. "Wait, what?" Anna's smile was almost wicked. "I want to see how far he's fallen." A week later, David sat stiffly in the cold, impersonal interview room of what he believed to be just another mid-level company. His hands were clasped together. His suit cheap and ill-fitted. He had lost the polished confidence he once carried. The arrogance had been replaced with something else. Desperation. He had been turned down everywhere. Companies that once returned his calls in minutes now ignored him. His former colleagues, men he had once condescended to, wouldn't even meet his gaze when they crossed paths. He needed this job. He had convinced himself that this was his second chance. That if he could just get a foot in the door, he could rebuild everything. The door opened, and the second he saw who walked in, the color drained from his face. Anna. She moved with the same poise she always had. Her expression unreadable, her presence commanding. She had always carried power. But now she embodied it. She set a folder down on the table and met his wide-eyed stare with an easy smile. "David," she said smoothly. "What a surprise." His throat worked as he struggled to find words. "Anna, what are you doing here?" She tilted her head slightly. "You applied for a job at my company. What do you think I'm doing here?" The realization hit him like a physical blow. She owned this company, too. Of course, she did. He should have known. His fingers clenched into fists beneath the table. Anna casually flipped open the folder, pretending to scan his resume. "I see you left your last job off here. Any particular reason?" His jaw tightened. She smirked. "Oh, come on, David. Let's keep this professional." Silence stretched between them. Then, finally, he swallowed his pride and forced himself to speak. "I need a second chance." She nodded slowly, as if considering. "A second chance," she echoed. "Interesting." She leaned forward slightly. "Tell me, David," she mused, her voice almost gentle, "how many second chances did you give the employees you sabotaged? The people whose careers you crushed to climb the ladder?" He flinched. She pressed on. "How many second chances did you give me when you decided I was disposable?" More silence. Anna sighed, standing up. "You know," she said, "I actually considered hiring you." His eyes flickered with the smallest hint of hope. "But then I realized," she trailed off, picking up the folder and tearing it cleanly in half. "You haven't earned it." She let the pieces flutter onto the table in front of him. David's face twisted in a mix of fury and humiliation. But he didn't argue. He couldn't. Anna walked to the door, pausing just before she left. "Oh, and David?" She turned slightly, her eyes locking onto his. "Next time you call a woman useless," her lips curled into a smirk, "make sure she's not the one signing your paychecks." And with that, she walked out, leaving him sitting there. No job, no future, no power, just a broken man, drowning in the weight of his own choices. Anna had spent years letting him make her feel small. But now, she was the one who decided who mattered. And David? He was nothing. The story of Anna and David is more than just a tale of revenge, it is a powerful lesson in resilience, self-worth, and the consequences of arrogance. Anna's journey from being dismissed and underestimated to standing at the pinnacle of success is a testament to the strength that lies in knowing one's value. She didn't seek to destroy David, he did that himself through his own entitlement and lack of foresight. What she did was reclaim the power that had always been hers, proving that no one can define your worth except you. This story serves as a reminder that success is not handed to those who take shortcuts or step on others to climb the ladder. It belongs to those who work for it, who believe in themselves even when others don't, and who refuse to let anyone else dictate their potential. For every person who has ever been told they are less than, Anna's triumph is proof that the best revenge is not destruction, it's elevation. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more compelling content. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you more powerful stories that remind us all of the strength we carry within. Stay tuned for the next chapter.